Alright, so today earlier, me and my buddy had a discussion about whether or not ICE was justified in shooting the man in Minneapolis, right? And I said yes. And let me tell you why before before you guys make an opinion or judgment, right? Like semantics aside, right? All that stuff about like you know whether or not ICE is supposed to be there. We already talked about that, right? ICE is supposed to be there. They're doing their job, right? Now you have a protest, right? And and you bring a gun to the protest, right? I talked about this earlier too, right? You bring a gun to the protest. It's supposed to be a peaceful protest, right? At that point, right? If you're supposed to do your job, right? And you have people um impeding in your investigation, right? Right? And quote unquote, it's supposed to be a peaceful protest, right? So why'd you bring a gun there? Whether you have a concealed permit to carry or not, it don't matter. At that point, it's the wild, wild west, right? So I told my buddy, I'm like, okay, look, because we all saw the videos, right? And he wanted my opinion whether or not the officer was justified in shooting the guy because we both saw that one agent spotted the weapon on um the back waist, on the back, and then he retrieved it, right? And then he goes, well, he's not justified. At this point, both his legs and his arms are on the ground, and the scuffle, like if we already took the gun, that means the guy didn't wasn't armed anymore, right? But that's not the case. You think people go to war with one gun, right? They don't know how many other guns he has. What, he's gonna become Rambo and just, like, or Hulk Hogan and just, starts, wherever the gun, another concealed, right? Remember, it was concealed, right? So a person can have multiple conceals, right? So, you know what I mean? So I'm like, Johnny, oh, sorry, not supposed to put up people's name, right? I'm like, hey, look, you know what I mean? Like, um, you're gonna go be over there and like you know what I mean, not go home to your family. You know what I mean? You're just doing a job, right? Mind you, my buddy has a job where it is dangerous and he has to carry himself, right? So, you know what I mean? Like, do you take chances at that point? And that's the problem, right? The problem is the agent has to take a chance whether or not someone is gonna go, AWOL against you. You know what I mean? So, you know, yeah, it's inhumane or whatever you may call it, right? This is where like you can't debate moral against national security, right? If the guy is supposed to be there to do his job, then you have to allow him to be there to do their job, right? You can't impede on the work that the federal government has to do. They also have to go home to the family too. You know what I mean? So, if you're gonna um if you're gonna be there and you're gonna be there, with with weapons, right? Then you probably have to use it before someone uses theirs on you. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, you know what I mean? And you think about maybe certain scenarios, right? We don't know what the ICE agent have as far as their, intel goes. It could be like um, sensors or radar systems where it detects metal and stuff, right? Like, they probably pinpoint that the guy probably has artillery and weapon already, right? You ever played Warzone? You know what I mean? Like, they have all these like devices where it can sensors like movement and stuff and who's armored and who's not, right? You think they got one of those? They might, right? So that's why on my other video I say, hey, look, they might have some sort of intel already to know, what I mean, like an active shooter situation, right? So and then here's another thing, right? The debate was, well, what I mean, he went to go pick up the lady, right? And then even my buddy said it was a lady, right? Objectively speaking, and he said, oh well, you're talking crazy, right? I'm like, bro, I've been watching this for a long time, and I've been like putting videos out, like, look, man, you guys want this to happen, this and that to happen, right? Keep going this direction, right? And like most of my you know like videos has been accurate as far as what's next to come, right? And now everyone's making video about martial law, right? Okay, well, you know what I mean. Been talking about that for the last year and a half. You know what I mean? But anyway, so whatever. That's not the case in point. The case in point is this, right? Objectively speaking, if you guys are pinpointing that the agent came and pushed the lady, right? For one, none of the video can exactly identify that the person in the white suit jacket or whatever you call that, like puffy jacket, is a lady. Like, if you can pinpoint, like, oh, that's a lady's jacket versus a guy's jacket, a male versus a female, right? That's your brain telling you, hey, look, I'm not even objective in the first place, right? And you can't call me crazy for saying what I'm saying, right? Because I'm just observing and reporting, right? What did I say? I said, hey, look, there's intel. They probably have intel to show that this guy was armed, right? Probably. The keyword was probably. I don't know. I don't know if they know. I don't know what they know. I'm not sure what devices they know. But if they have devices, right, and they're walking straight up to this guy, right, who's quote unquote, oh, it was just peacefully protesting, but he had the right to carry a conceal, right? What does it take for someone to be like, oh, well, I'm thinking this is the time to pull out my conceal and use it against a person that's doing their job and who's lawfully has the right to be there, right? Who's justified at that point to in self-defense, right? Not the guy that's using the gun for no reason in active protest, right? You know what I mean? Did he have a right to be there to protest? Yeah, but what is the protest about? Whether an agent had the right to be there? Come on, make that make sense, right? That's where I'm saying common sense has to be made. Where's the common sense? There's no common sense, right? It's like people are angry, right? Anger is not common sense. Anger is not common. Let me just repeat that. Anger is not common sense. Emotion is not common sense. Emotions make you make the wrong choice, right? Are the ICE agent justified? Yeah, they're doing their job. That's it. You know what I mean? It's there's no self-defense claim here, guys. It's you know what I mean? Like, if you're there to cause trouble, you're there to cause trouble, and that's how they're gonna label the guy. He was there to cause trouble, right? That's it. That's just my 2 cents, y'all. Have a good day. Peace.